Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto adopted Hana and built his own Konoha family, part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Of course not, Hinata-chan, this plan has been in motion since this morning. There were two teams in on it really. Team 1 consisted of Lee, Guy, Iruka, and Weird Al Yankovic, a visiting musician. Team 2 will consist of you, me, and unknowingly Naruto. Team 1 has done their job. Lee was under the impression that a issue on his training was on the agenda of the council and that they were going vote on it. He, being Lee, put up thousands upon thousands of posters prompting citizens to vote no on it. This also prompted Naruto to come outside. Guy was convinced that Naruto was in trouble, so he chased down Lee and made him take down all the posters. This left me open to sneak Mr. Al into Tsunade's office in order to perform for her. This distracted her enough so that she hasn't noticed that Hana's recommendation has been placed into her paperwork. Now this is where Team 2 comes in. If you are able to convince Naruto that Hana should be put with me then. T then what? Hinata asked. She really wanted to know if this would hurt Naruto. I'll tell you when you complete your assignment, Neji said as he ushered her out of the room. 3 knocks sounded at the door, causing Naruto to wake from his dream. As he got up to answer the door, he heard voices from the outside. But the first voice whined, but was interrupted by the second voice. No, you must apologize, the second voice nearly bellowed. But she'll interrupt training. The first voice whined again. You should have thought about that before you kicked him. Naruto had a pretty good idea who it was and what they wanted. I don't want to, but if I don't they'll probably bust down the door, he thought as he opened the door. Naruto, how's life treating you? Youthfully I should hope, Guy said, striking a pose. He then shot Lee, who stood beside him looking ashamed. Sorry about kicking you yesterday, Naruto. Lee mumbled quietly. It's okay, Lee. Hurt like a. Naruto started but was interrupted. No, Guy yelled. It is not okay. Youth will not allow it. Lee must make it up to you. And just how will he do this? Naruto asked, yawning. By allowing Hana to train with us, of course. She is entering the academy, correct? Guy paused for only a second before continuing. So if she trains with taijutsu specialists such as my team, she will catch up and, dare I say it, surpass the rest of her class. Guy said. Well, I suppose. She is probably behind on her taijutsu after all. So I'll get today off then. Naruto paused, and when Guy nodded, okay then just make sure she's back before 7, okay? Deal. Don't worry, she'll love it. Guy chuckled. Yes, Naruto. She will be back at 7 sharp, if not I'll do 1,000 push-ups. Lee proclaimed, coming back to life. He was never one to back down from a challenge. Excellent idea, Lee. I will, however, up the stakes. If she's not back by 7 sharp, I'll do 2,000 push-ups. Guy shouted loudly. This continued while Naruto went to wake Hana up and get her ready for her first day of training. Hey, Daddy, who are these two? Hana shouted when she saw Guy and Lee yelling about something called a push-up. I'm Guy, I'll be your sensei for the day. This is Lee, Guy said, pointing to Lee, and he's doing this for punishment. Okay, Midori sensei, she said, facing Guy. She then turned to Lee, who was looking expectantly back at her. You have funny eyebrows. His are better, Hana commented. But Lee began but was immediately interrupted by Guy. We are nearly late for training, he yelled as he picked Hana up and started running. Lee just gave Naruto an apologetic look before following his sensei. Good day, here I come, Naruto said before closing his door. Guy, Lee, and Hana arrived at the training ground with only 6 seconds left before the deadline. Even though most teams stopped meeting up as often after all of the members became Junin, Guy had insisted on training together. The training had paid off greatly, so neither Neji nor Tenten had objected. Okama. was the first indication that today was going to be bad for Neji. Oh no, 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 he muttered. If it was for his plan and he had control of the situation, he had no problems with seeing Hana. However, when he has no control of the situation, he would rather not see her. Hey, Midori-sensei, is she on the team too? Hana asked, glancing at Tenten. Yes, I'm on the team. I'm guessing you're Hana, Tenten said. Not nearly as bad as Neji described her, nor nearly as great as Guy-sensei made her sound. She thought, observing the girl. Hello, Miss Baker. Hana yelled at Tenten. Miss Baker. My name's Tenten, the weapons enthusiast pointed out. Tenten-san, I believe that she is talking about your wonderful buns. Lee said loudly. Thanks, Lee, yours are nice too. Tenten said, blushing slightly. But Tenten-san, I do not have my hair in a similar style. Lee said, not catching the flirtation. Baka. Tenten mumbled. Baka is Japanese for idiot. Alright team, I hate to cut the conversation. Guy started before he realized his mistake. Cut. Tenten asked with a gleam in her eye. What's she doing? Hana asked as Tenten pulled out a small knife. Guy picked up a log and threw it a short distance from Tenten. Well, for some reason Tenten's flames of youth burn brightest when the word is said in her vicinity. If not for my quick thinking, she'd begin cutting the nearest thing to shreds, which is usually herself, so we just don't say it here. Guy explained as Tenten started to cut up the log, chuckling and saying, cut, over and over with increasing vigor. Sensei, are we going to be idiots all day or are we going to train? Neji asked coldly. Well, I had us scheduled for being idiots today, but since Hana's here, you and Lee can stretch while I get her into some proper training attire. Come on, Hana, that kimono will never do. Guy said in a sage-like tone. At around 5 o'clock, Naruto was sitting on a kitchen chair. He couldn't wait to just hang out. Ah, this is the life. Nothing planned, no intrusions, and best of all, no paperwork. Naruto thought while reclining slightly more into the chair. Suddenly there was a faint knock on the door. He decided to ignore it for a bit. After about 5 seconds of faint knocking, Naruto decided to see who was knocking. He got up and opened the door. Oh, hello Naruto-kun. Hinata said, looking away from him to hide her darkening face. Oh no, it was supposed to be Hana who answered. Hinata thought, her plan failing before it began. Oh hello Hinata. What do you want? Naruto asked, oblivious to her blush. OIW was going T to SSC if Hana wanted to go eat again, K kinda like the other time, at Ichiraku's, Hinata stuttered while poking her fingers together, remembering their first date, during which Naruto had carried her home because she had fainted, while Hana was out doing something with Shino. Oh, well, she went training with Guy-sensei and his team. I know, I'll go eat with ya. We going to Ichiraku's Aegean? Naruto asked while Hinata's blush got darker and darker. Another date, but this time without Hana. It will be like a real date. Hinata thought slowly. Surely this can't be real. She barely heard herself say yes before she was whisked out of the doorway by Naruto dragging her by the wrist to the ramen shop. Tsuki was bewildered when he saw Naruto with a girl in his shop again, no less it being Hyuga, Hinata. Hey Naruto, on another family outing? He asked, getting ready to cook up a storm. No, just me and Hinata today. Naruto said as he promptly ordered miso pork ramen. So it's a date? Tsuki asked nonchalantly. You're on a date? A second voice yelled from around the back. Appearing with a trail of dust behind her, Ayame immediately started bombarding Hinata with questions. How did this happen? How long has it been going on? Are you engaged? Am I invited to the wedding? What are the children's names? Am I asking too many questions? What would you like to eat? What time is it? How's Neji doing? Where's Hana? Naruto just chuckled as Ayame stopped talking. It's not a date, just a friendly lunch. She just showed up wanting to eat with Hana. I decided to go with her since Hana was gone. About 3 minutes. No, no, no children. Yes. I don't know. No clue. Why? With Guy Sensei. He then started stuffing his face with ramen again. Guy Sensei. You didn't. Tenten said astounded. He did. Neji pointed out in a similar state of shock. Hana was standing next to Guy. Both of them were wearing green jumpsuits and standing stiff upright with their right arms thrust straight out while giving the three other Junin present a thumbs up. Ready to train Hana? Guy asked, dropping the pose. Yes, Midori sensei. Hana yelled. Yes. Let us burn with the flames of youth. Guy yelled. As always, Midori sensei. Hana shouted. Hana. Guy called. Midori sensei. Hana responded. Hana. Guy repeated. Midori sensei. Hana shouted. Lee. Lee sniffled. He remembered when he and Guy used to do that. Of course. We must get to training. Guy said as if breaking out of a trance. Okay, everyone, stop what you were doing and listen up. He yelled, getting their attention. Now Lee, take Hana and give her the basics of taijutsu. Tenten, you practice throwing multiple weapons at a single target. What of me, sensei? Neji asked. What is the most powerful force on earth? Guy asked the prodigy. Youth. Neji guessed. As you were. Guy said, smiling. Back at the ramen shop, Naruto had tried repetitively to beat Hana's record of fastest bowl of ramen eaten. He failed every time. Hinata sat in the next chair, amused by the sight. Kit, I do believe that you are, as the kids say, losing miserably. Cuba said somewhere around the 9th attempt. True, but I will win. No one beats me at eating ramen. Naruto yelled in his head. Kit, if we were competing, I would demolish you. I'd also eat faster. Kyuubi chuckled. But you could eat 1,000 gallons of the stuff in one bite. It's not fair. Naruto whined at the demon. Chalk 1 up to demons. The score, I believe, is around 1,009,076, 1,009,076 to 99, Kyuubi stated. Although in all reality, even I have to admit, it is not fair competition. NN Naruto-kun, when will Hana need P picked up? Hinata inquired quietly. Oh, in about an hour. Naruto stated, going back to his ramen. Oh, okay. Hinata mumbled under her breath, smiling. Yay. Another whole hour with Naruto-kun. How was that, old man? Naruto asked Yuki. 2 seconds too slow. He bluntly stated. Damn, I can't beat it. Naruto cried out. Maybe if you didn't use chopsticks it would work better. Hinata suggested. Maybe. Naruto said, thinking it over. One more bowl, old man. Here ya go, just don't get too messy with it. Yuki warned. Alright. Naruto said, slamming his face into the bowl, eating at the dish with a vigor unknown to many. NN Naruto-kun. Hinata breathed. She was enjoying this more than she should have, and she knew it. How was that? Naruto-sked, his face smeared with bits of food. You beat it by 2 seconds. Now about your bill. Yuki stated. I'll get it, Yuki-san, Hinata mumbled. Thanks, Hinata. Hey, if you ever need anything just ask. Okay, I sure do owe you one. Naruto said, readjusting his headband. Alright, you two. I hate to kick you out, however it's 6. If what you told me is correct, Hana needs to be pried from the jaws of youth. Ayame chuckled. But, if he eats more I'll get more money. Yuki protested. Nah, we gotta get Hana before Guy Sensei gets her to do something weird. Naruto stated as he got up to leave. Hinata followed suit. At the training grounds, Guy Sensei. You didn't. Naruto said, his mouth wide open. Ah, but he did. Neji called over from where he was sitting. Daddy. Hana cried as she rushed towards Naruto with speed that no one would expect from a 7-year-old. As soon as she reached him, she tackled him to the ground. Ah, Naruto, Hana has performed beyond anything I would have expected. Guy said, walking up to the duo. Okay, Hana, we need to go home to get you ready for bed, okay? Naruto stated, getting up. It had taken them an hour to get to the training ground due to the fact that they got lost a few times. You start the academy tomorrow. Yes. Getting plenty of rest causes your youth to expand. Guy proclaimed. Okay then, Neji, you want to tag along? I'm going to walk Hinata home. Naruto asked. No thank you Naruto, I have important training to do. Neji said, watching Tenten bash Lee in the head because he was being a baka. They arrived at the Hyuga Manor at 8 o'clock. As soon as it was in sight, Hana yelled out to a guard, Hey mister, why do you look like a girl? I assure you, I am a male. The guard responded. But you have long hair. Hana pointed out. Hana, stay here with your new friend while I take Hinata up to the door, okay? Naruto more asked than commanded. Okay. But you have pretty eyes. She stated, causing the guard to sigh. Thanks for today and Naruto-kun. Hinata stuttered, blushing slightly. You're welcome, I had fun today. Don't forget, if you need anything at all, just ask. Naruto said when they arrived at the door. Actually there is SSS something I'd like. Hinata said, her blush darkening. Really? What is it? Naruto asked, happy to be able to pay her back. Hug. Hinata mumbled just loud enough for Naruto to hear. Alrighty then, your favor. Naruto said as he hugged her tightly. Why a hug though? He asked during the embrace. No reason. She stuttered, causing it to be hard to understand. Well, I gotta go. Feel free to drop by anytime. Naruto said, releasing the blushing girl. Goodbye Naruto-kun. Hinata said, smiling. Happy that she had hugged her crush without fainting, and also because he practically invited her back to visit. See ya around. Naruto said, walking back to Hana and the guard, who was still arguing that he was a he and not a she as she had commented. Come on Hana, time to go home and go to bed. Bye lady. Hana called back to the guard, who just made a rude hand gesture and went back to patrolling. So what did you and Tomato do today? Oh, this and that. Oh, and Hana. Naruto said. Yes daddy. Hana inquired, shifting her Aburame glasses on her forehead, that she had gotten from Uncle Shino a few days prior. Please tell me you're not going to grow really bushy eyebrows. Hana. Naruto said, shaking the soundly sleeping girl. She asked, awakening slowly. It's time for your first day of school, K. Naruto asked the drowsy girl. School. Hana screamed at the top of her lungs, running towards the door. Naruto jumped in front of her, stopping her mere feet from the door. Wait, you have to get dressed first. He mumbled. Being trampled is never fun, even when it's only a 7-year-old. Getting dressed. She yelled, heading towards the bathroom. Can I wear my suit? She asked. Sure. Why not? Naruto said, shrugging. Yay. She exclaimed as she went to get dressed. Meanwhile, at the main Aburame house, Shino's family. Shino awoke at exactly 6 a.m. as he did every morning. Today is my day to cook breakfast, he thought as he put on his sunglasses. Down in the kitchen, his dad was reading a newspaper. Father, eggs? He asked shortly, out of politeness. Beat it, Shibi said, not looking up. He was indicating the way he wanted his eggs. No, Shino replied as he turned on the oven. Bad, Shibi retorted sourly. Anything happen? Shino asked, looking at his father. Man in the mirror, Shibi said, pointing to an article that told about a man who was flung into a mirror by his enraged wife. Shino handed his dad some toast. Any good? Thriller, Shibi replied sarcastically. Never mind, Shino said as he went back to cooking. I should make lunch for Hana. Knowing Naruto, he'll forget. At the academy. Hey daddy, who are these other people? Hana asked. They're your classmates, or at least most of them are. Naruto shrugged. Now I gotta go, I have a mission today. I'm going to pick you up after school, K. Okay daddy, Hana said as she ran off to bother the nearest person. I wonder how she's going to do. Naruto mumbled to himself. Me too. A voice from behind Naruto said in an emotionless tone. Ah, Naruto screamed. Sai, what do you want? Naruto asked, panting. Well, I am here to tell you that you have a mission. Do not worry, an alternate transport has been set aside for your daughter. The pale artist said, walking off. I hate it when he does that. Naruto said to himself. When who does what? Sai said from behind Naruto. Ah, but, you, over there. Naruto asked in surprise. Clones are nice Sai said, walking off. I suppose I should get to my mission then, huh? Naruto asked. No one in particular. Yes. Came an emotionless voice from behind Naruto. What the hell? Naruto asked, turning around to face the owner of the voice. I'm pretty sure that is no way to speak to an old friend. The owner of the voice, who turned out to be Gaara, said. I heard that you had a child and decided to come and see for myself. You really should go. We'll catch up when you're done with your mission. Okay then, see ya Gaara. Naruto yelled over his shoulder as he ran to the Hokage's office to receive his mission. I really do wonder how he beat me all those years ago. Gaara said, watching Naruto's retreating figure. Me too. Came Sai's voice from behind the pale red head. You're the one that insulted Naruto, correct? Gaara asked the artist. I am. Sai replied. Half a second passed. Then for the first time in a long while, Sai fled in fear. Inside the academy. Hello kids, my name is Iruka, and I'll be your sensei for the next, however long it takes. Iruka said, chuckling to himself. Hey baddie sensei. Hana yelled in the back. Hana, please sit down. Now. Iruka started but stopped as two boys started talking in the front. As soon as they stopped, he said, No, please continue, I would hate to interrupt your important conversation. Okay then, as I was saying. The kid with brown hair started before he was hit square in the head by a bat. He fell on the floor unconscious and bleeding badly. The other kids just stared at Iruka. Oh, crap, Iruka said, looking from the kid to the bat. Iruka sensei, I think you hurt him bad. A girl only feet away who had some blood on her said. She had purple hair. She was about Hana's height with small circular glasses that flashed when she looked at the boy. She wore a plain white shirt and light gray pants. Man, my bat's all bloody. Now I'm gonna have to clean it and repaint it. This is going to be a pain. Iruka said, examining his precious equipment. I don't think he's breathing. The girl said, leaning over the boy. Oh, sorry. He doesn't look too good right now. Iruka said, examining the boy's prone form. Roll him over. Okay sensei. The girl said as she rolled the kid over. His eyes were closed and he had blood all over his face. Wait a minute. Crap. He dented my bat. Now I'm gonna have to get a new one. Iruka mumbled, looking at the slight dent in the bat. I think someone should take him to the hospital. The girl suggested while trying to stop the bleeding as best a 7-year-old could. Well, I think we should just keep going with class. Understand class that if you become ninja that no one is going to baby you anymore. Iruka said, still examining his bat. But there are medical ninja in most squads. The girl pointed out. Good point. I'll take him to the hospital then. No one leave the room. Iruka said, picking the boy up and walked away, mumbling about, blood on my good shirt. Hey you. Hana yelled at the girl from 3 feet away. Yes. She asked. What's your name? Hana asked, closing the distance between them. It's Tenahira, Kusuri. I'm going to be the best medical ninja of all time. Kusuri said in a tone that could be considered condescending, but it was more than likely just a 7-year-old's way of trying to sound mature. Hey look, a bird. So what was your name? Hana asked, tearing her attention from the bird. Kusuri's face grew red in anger. I was talking, you know. She shouted. And who, may I ask, are you? She stated in a spiteful tone. My name is Uzumaki, Hana. Okay then Tanoko. Hana asked. Tanoko means the back of a hand. Don't call me that, Kusuri said in a whining tone. Why? Hana asked. Because it makes me feel weird. Kusuri replied. Why? Because it's not my name. Why? Because my parents named me something else. But it's a nickname. How would you like it if I called you Mimi? Mimi means ear. I wouldn't mind. You a terrible person. Why? Because you want to be. Why? Because you're rude. Why? Because you called me a name. All right, class. Uruka called from the door as he came back from the hospital, take your seats. The group of children who had gathered around Hana and Kusuri sat down. I'll show her. Kusuri thought as she took her seat. How dare she mock me? I like her. Hana thought. I think I made a new friend. At the Hokage's office. He friend. A man of middling height said as Naruto entered Tsunade's office. Said Hokage looked more than relieved to be rid of the man. He was average in height. He wore seeing glasses that were almost too large for his eyes. He had a bushy head of curly brown hair that seemed to resemble Shino's. Hello Naruto, your mission is to get this guy to his village. It is only about 3 days from here and the risk is minimum. It is a C-rank mission. Tsunade said in a bored tone. Yeah friend. My name's Tokage, Takamaru. I know what we can do. He suddenly shouted. Okay. Naruto asked. He was kinda surprised how this guy's voice could be an average deepness and still sound squeaky. Let's play a game, Takamaru suggested. Alright, Naruto said. He liked games, he usually won. Look up, Takamaru commanded quickly in a light tone. Okay, Naruto said as he looked at the ceiling. It looked as it always did. Plain. Now look down, Takamaru commanded. Sure, Naruto said as he looked down. The floor was about as interesting as this game was. Not at all. Now look at Mr. Frying Pan. Takamaru said. What? Naruto asked as he looked up just in time to get hit full in the face by a large silver frying pan. He immediately fell down in pain. Uh-oh. Ninja fall down go boom. Takamaru said dropping his frying pan. I learned that one from a great comedian. I'm a prop comic. Ah. Naruto cried as he got up slowly. What's wrong ninja? Takamaru asked in his normal voice tone. What's wrong? You hit me with a frying pan. Naruto screamed at Takamaru. I know, you're hungry aren't you? Takamaru asked. Hungry? No, I'm not hungry. Naruto yelled at the comedian. You're right we should really get going. Takamaru said as if answering a question. Naruto remember that you're not allowed to hurt the client. Tsunade yelled to Naruto as he left her office. Takamaru, I have to go make arrangements with something okay. Meet me at the North Village gates in about an hour. Naruto said as he went to go arrange who Hana would be staying with for the next 3 days. Okay friend. Takamaru said as he started counting the hair on his wrist. Hinata was walking towards the academy. I hope that I see Naruto-kun today. I heard he had a mission. She thought as she went towards the pickup area. The school would be letting out soon and she was hoping that Naruto would be there. The bell rung signaling the end of the school day. Hinata almost immediately spotted Hana who was talking to a girl, who didn't look happy to be there, that Hinata had never seen before. Hana must have made a new friend. So that's when my daddy said. Tomato. Hana yelled. She missed the glare that Kusuri sent in her direction. Hinata, what are you doing here? Naruto asked appearing beside the now blushing girl. IIC came to see if Hana W would like T to come versus visit. Hinata said making up a lie on the spot. Hey Hinata, want to do me a huge favor? Naruto asked remembering that he had a mission. Anything F for YYUN Naruto-kun, Hinata mumbled inaudibly. When she saw that Naruto didn't hear she said, why yes NN Naruto-kun. Can you look after Hana for about 3 days? I'll owe you one. Naruto said as he explained his request. SS sure. Hinata stuttered remembering the last time Naruto owed her one. Jackpot. Hinata stuttered in thought. Thanks. Here is a key to my apartment if you need anything from there. I'll need it back when I come back. Okay. See ya. Behave for Hinata okay Hana. Naruto said as he ran off. So I'm going to be hanging out with you and your family tomato? Hana asked. Why yes. We should go talk to father about this. Hinata said as she grabbed Hana's hand and led her towards the Hyuga home. Oh, I think you should stop wearing the jumpsuit. Why? Hana asked. Hinata then proceeded to tell Hana that as women grow older their bodies change. She lied a lot and blushed the whole time. Are we there yet? Takamaru asked loudly. No. Naruto sighed. They were only 12 minutes outside of the village when Takamaru first started asking if they were there yet. They were now only 13 minutes out of the village and the official count of, "Are we there yet?" being asked was 52. Okay then, Takamaru said as he looked at the surrounding trees. Finally. Silence. Naruto thought gleefully. He never thought that he'd be so happy to not hear anything. Say, friend, about how far out are we from Konoha? Takamaru asked. About 14 minutes. Why? Naruto asked the comic. No reason, friend. Takamaru said in a tone of voice that indicated that he did indeed ask for a reason. I'm not your friend. Naruto pointed out venomously. Why not? Is this because I didn't bring food? Takamaru asked in a curious tone. You hit me with a frying pan. Naruto said in a slow, calm voice. Oh, did I? Takamaru asked thoughtfully. It just happened a few minutes ago. Naruto screamed in outrage. His outburst was met in silence. A few seconds passed before Naruto heard Takamaru ask, Are we there yet? Naruto sighed again. This is going to be a long day. He thought. Back in Konoha. Father. See, can I talk to you? Hinata asked her dad, who was doing some paperwork at the time. Only if it is important. Hiyashi replied. Seiken Uzumaki. Hana stay over for a few days? She asked quietly. The little girl who did not back away even when faced with the infamous Hyuga death glare. Hiyashi asked, not looking up from his paperwork. Why, yes. Hinata responded. Fine. She will be sleeping in Hanabi's room. Now leave me be, I have important paperwork to get to. Hiyashi said, finally looking up from the paper he was holding in his hand. Why, yes. Thank you, father. Hinata bowed and then walked as fast as she could out of the room. This should be interesting, Hiyashi said aloud as he reached into his desk and pulled out an orange book. Now I really do wonder what the fuss is about this. Chapter 1. Hiyashi said as he started to read. Well, tomato. Hana asked loudly. Can I stay? Why, yes. Father didn't seem to mind. Why you will be sleeping in my sister's room. Hinata stated barely above a whisper. Yay. Hana shouted, running around. She then stopped and looked at Hinata. So I'm sleeping in Okama's room? Hinata almost laughed. No, Neji ni-san is my cousin. Didn't I tell you? Anyway, Hanabi ni-chan sleeps in the room next to me. Yay. So when do I meet her? Hana asked, looking around. Right now, came a voice from up a staircase. When Hanabi had emerged into view, she looked at Hinata and asked in a haughty tone only Hyugas could use, what is it that I hear about sharing my room? Well, father said that Hana must sleep in your room. Hinata stuttered. Fair enough. Little girl. Hanabi said, looking down at Hana. I assume she means you, therefore I will point out a few ground rules. You must always address me as Hanabi-sama until I inform you otherwise. Second, you are not to touch my closet. Third, and most importantly, you will not interrupt my sleep. She said in a commanding tone. She really didn't like ordering people around, however a Hyuga main branch member must always give orders to their inferiors. Quote. Hana just stared at Hanabi for a second, then turned her gaze towards Hinata. Is there a change of clothes in your room? Hinata nodded and then said, yes. Go up there. I'll be there as soon. Thank you, tomato. Hana replied calmly, turned to the stairway, and then took off running while screaming. I'm going to Hinata ni-chan, what was the meaning of that? Hanabi said, staring at the space where Hana had just ran to. I told her that if women wear SP spandex suits, like the one Gai sensei and Lee-san wear they explode. Hinata said. She then looked as though she remembered something very important. she took off running and called out, Hana, don't touch my closet. Hanabi sighed and turned towards the front door as she thought, are all people's lives like this? If so, maybe I am wrong to admire them. With Naruto and Takamaru. Sue, are we there yet? Takamaru asked. It was getting late into the night and he had yet to stop asking that question. No, we'll stop here, okay. Naruto sighed as he set down his pack. Takamaru set his down as well and then looked at a tree. Hey, I forgot something, stay here and get some food cooking K. I'll be back in about 2 minutes. Takamaru said as he ran out of sight into the woods. I should follow him, but he'd probably just hit me with a frying pan. Naruto said to himself as he started cooking the instant ramen. Takamaru returned just in time for the ramen to finish. Say, what's for grub? He put his hand in his pocket as he asked the question. Ramen. It's really hot. What did you forget? Naruto asked. He couldn't have left it in Konoha. No one can move that fast. Must be important though. He suspects. Takamaru thought. Say, friend, are you lying to me? He then asked. No, it really is hot. Naruto stated bluntly. You better hope you're lying. Takamaru stated. Why? Naruto started before the steaming broth from Takamaru's bowl splashed him in the face. Naruto fell over screaming, grabbing at his face and sweeping the liquid off his face. Now I know what you're thinking, probably something along the lines of, ah. Get it off of me, get it off of me. However, I wouldn't advise myself to touch that stuff. From the looks of it, it's very hot. By the way, I'm going to borrow your bowl. Takamaru said as he grabbed Naruto's bowl and started eating. After this episode ended, Takamaru fell asleep. What a jerk. Naruto thought as he made another bowl of ramen. Agreed. Let's kill him. Kyuubi said. Everything that happens to Kid happens to me too. This guy really is a jerk. Can't. Oba-chan would have a fit. You seem awfully friendly as of late. Are you finally a nice little demon? Naruto thought sincerely. Kid, if you were trapped unable to move for 15 years, you would jump at the chance to converse with anyone. I was the freest being on the planet before getting sealed, so this need has only increased. But, to answer your question, no, I am not a nice little demon as you put it. Given the chance, I would destroy you, your friends, the village, and anyone else to escape. Keeping you alive only increases the likelihood of escape. Kyuubi said in a quiet tone. Ah, was all Naruto responded with. He then fell asleep. The next morning at the Hyuga household, Hinata was humming quietly to herself as she cooked breakfast for the family. She always awoke before the others and felt that it was her duty to cook. Tomato? Hana asked sleepily from the doorway. Yes, Hinata replied. When do I have to leave? Hana asked sitting down. In about 20 minutes. Hinata answered. Hello, Ni-chan. Came a voice from the doorway. Oh, hello Hanabi Ni-chan, how did you sleep? Hinata asked turning towards Hanabi and nearly shrieked at the sight before her. Hanabi's hair was tangled and knotted all over, it also contained several leafy twigs. Turning her attention to Hanabi's face, she noticed that she had bags under her eyes. Her clothes were the ones from the day before, only now instead of being pressed and wrinkle-free, it now looked as though Hanabi had wrestled a bear. Fine. Hanabi muttered. She then sat down as far away from Hana as one could get at the table. Hey Hanabi Ni-chan, would you take Hana to school? Hinata asked as she went back to cooking. Hanabi's head hit the table as she started to cry. Inside the academy, Hana had already found Kusuri and had started to talk to her, were then approached by a boy who said in an apathetic tone, she doesn't like you, I think. Who are you? Hana said loudly, turning her attention from Kusuri to the boy. You can call me Unagi, if you want. Everyone else does. The boy said, shrugging. He had brown hair that came close to his eyes, his face lacked emotion. He also wore a gray coat with black patches on the arms, shoulders, and back. His pants were just blue standard shinobi pants. He slouched slightly. But what's your real name? Hana asked again. The boy perked up slightly. Murasaki, Sitamaru, he said, his voice not changing in the slightest. Okay then, Hidari, Hana said loudly. Hidari means left. The boy didn't respond but went back to his seat because the teacher had entered the room. Hello class, Shikamaru drawled. Uruka-sensei will not be with you for a few weeks due to criminal charges of assault. Hey smokestack, Hana called from her seat. Shikamaru's eyes narrowed slightly before he said, now we were scheduled to start teaching chakra theory to you guys today. However, I have decided that your taijutsu needs work. 50 laps around the school. Let's go. He signaled for the class to get up and follow. Yay. 50 laps. Hana yelled, laughing as she ran to be first out of the room. It's 100 for that, Shikamaru said as he walked outside. Baka, Kusuri thought when she heard this. Wonderful, Sitamaru thought sarcastically. I'm going to win, Hana shouted as soon as Shikamaru said go. She was far ahead of the class before they started. I won't lose to her, Kusuri thought as she started to catch up. How troublesome, Shikamaru mumbled, reaching for a cigarette. It's going to be a long day. Say, friend, how much longer until we get to the village? Takamaru asked. About 3 hours, and stop calling me friend. Naruto replied. I'll be more than glad to get rid of him. He thought. Okay, Takamaru said happily. You know I don't dislike a lot of people, but for you, I'll make an exception. Naruto stated. Yay, independence. That's not a good thing. Naruto sighed. Stree nerj elik I, Takamaru stated dreamily. What? Naruto asked in a disbelieving voice. I like green trees, Takamaru pointed out as if it were obvious. Naruto remained quiet for a few seconds and then stated, I believe you. Back in Konoha, I'm pretty sure that's illegal, Sitamaru stated, answering Hana's question. But why? Hana asked. Because ripping off body parts is, in most cultures, frowned upon. He sighed. So in others it perfectly okay. Hana shouted loudly. Not quite, he mumbled as Shikamaru called the class to attention. Class 1 have wonderful news, Shikamaru drawled. I'm getting a puppy, Hana asked loudly with her left hand raised. No, Shikamaru stated bluntly. You're getting a puppy, Hana asked in a similar tone. No, Shikamaru sighed. You're getting married to that pretty fan lady I saw you with the other day. Hana asked, leaping from her seat. Dear Kami, no, Shikamaru stated loudly. Kami is God in Japanese. I think. No sooner had he uttered those words, that a large metal fan came down upon his head, leaving a huge bump. And what is that supposed to mean? Tamari asked angrily. Troublesome woman. Class, this is Tamari. She'll be teaching the class today due to a minor miscalculation on my part. Shikamaru drawled while shooting Tamari a look that clearly said, damn you. That's right kids, and if you're nice, I'll give you some of Shikamaru's sand stuff. Previously mentioned woman stated, grinning widely. No she won't, Shikamaru said, rubbing his head. Yes I will, Tamari said. No, yes, not your stuff. Hey, I saved your life. If I want the clothes off your back, I deserve to get them. I saved your life as well, twice actually. You can keep your clothes though. Who would want to see you? Shikamaru started to say but was cut off by a fan to the face. Not another word Nara, Tamari said, a look of rage on her face. Whatever, Shikamaru said, content that his stuff was safe from the insane fan-wielding woman. Anyway, class, today I will be teaching you what chakra is and what it's used for, she said as she started describing the spiritual force used in jutsu. Back with Naruto, please, Takamaru begged. No, Naruto sighed. Please, Takamaru asked. No, Naruto exclaimed. Come on, just once. Takamaru asked again. Look, if it were a choice between eating ramen with you again or being stabbed in the foot, I would choose to be stabbed in the foot, Naruto said angrily. Bad choice, Kit, Kyuubi mumbled. Why? Naruto asked as he became aware of a dreadful pain in his foot. There ya go. Takamaru said grinning. I wish I could say that I'm surprised. Naruto said while clenching his teeth in pain. Wish granted. Takamaru said grinning even wider. Please. Let's kill him. Hey, I'll do it. Just rip the seal off. I really don't need this right now. If I told you that I could count to 3 million backwards, would that change your mind? Kyuubi asked. No. Naruto replied. He breathed in deeply as he started to bandage the wound. It wasn't deep, it had just hit a painful area. You know you should respect me more. Takamaru said as he started walking off again. Why in the world should I do that? Naruto shouted. Because I'm so bad, that I eat cereal for breakfast, without milk. Takamaru said as if it were an impressive feat. That's not tough at all. Naruto said. Oh yeah, well I also drank orange juice out of the carton, right after brushing my teeth. Takamaru continued. Well I killed a man. Naruto stated. Well I killed a multi-million-dollar industry within 10 minutes of becoming an owner. I can lift boulders over twice my weight. I can pull 2 magnets apart. I can hit a bird in the eye with a kunai without killing it. I can read. Naruto just looked at Takamaru as if he were insane. Okay then. On our way. Takamaru said smiling. Okay. I don't even want released. Just kill him. I know make it look like. Kyuubi started. No. Naruto responded. Do it, now. Kyuubi said in a quiet voice. Okay. Naruto thought. Really? Kyuubi asked excited. No. We've been over this. Join me, and together we can kill this man, in pretty much an instant. Kyuubi said dramatically. Leave me alone. Hey, you know what you remind me of? Takamaru asked in a thoughtful tone. What? Naruto sighed. A kitty, look at the marks, Ko Neko. Takamaru asked in a baby voice. Ko Neko means kitten. Naruto just stared, even Kyuubi seemed to be stunned into silence. Quote. Kyuubi just couldn't believe it. No one had ever called it a kitten, no one. I'm not a kitty. The Kyuubi said sadly, I'm not even in the feline family. Naruto chuckled to himself. Ah, is kitty gonna cry? Naruto joked. Quite mortal, this foolishness shall not be tolerated. He will be destroyed. Kyuubi said in a serious tone. He offended you that much? This offense shall not go unpunished. I am a fox, the Kyuubi, king of demons and ruler of this vessel. I shall not be referred to as a mere kitten ever. Kyuubi shouted in Naruto's head. Let's go, friend. Takamaru called from the distance. Look, we can't kill him, but we'll get even. Naruto told Kyuubi. Yes, I can only make him suffer so much by killing him. By the time we're done he'll wish for a death at the hands of the almighty fox demon. Kyuubi shouted. I will have my revenge. Yeah, sure. Naruto thought. He shall burn. Kyuubi continued. Oh. Naruto sighed. This is getting out of hand quickly. You know, I've just realized something. Takamaru said turning back towards Naruto. Oh, and what would that be? Naruto questioned. I've been a bit rude for the last few hours. Takamaru said. Really? Naruto asked sarcastically. Yes, Takamaru said as Naruto reached him. You don't get sarcasm, do you? No. Anyway, I've evaluated your performance and have decided that you pass. Takamaru said nodding. And that means? Naruto asked in a bored voice. That I want you to have this, take it back to the Hokage, but don't open it. Takamaru said handing Naruto a small scroll. Why not? Naruto asked suddenly interested. No real reason, other than this, if anyone other than your current Hokage opens it, Takamaru paused, they will die. Naruto gazed at the scroll with new respect. Nah, just messing with you. Takamaru laughed. But seriously, that scroll won't mean anything to anyone else. So I could open it if I wanted to. Nope. Why? Because I've rigged it with a seal. Don't ask how, that prevents anyone but Tsunade from opening it. Wouldn't that mean you know jutsu then? Naruto asked confused. Oh, I know a lot of things, I do pretty much whatever I want. I've been a ninja, a samurai, a landowner, and a great deal of other things. I have excellent luck in almost anything I want to accomplish really. Takamaru said shrugging. Really then? Naruto asked in a skeptical tone. Yep. Kinda weird really. Okay then goodbye, Takamaru said as he walked away. Wait, what? Naruto asked surprised. We've arrived at my village, Takamaru said over his shoulder. Looking up, Naruto realized that they had arrived ahead of schedule. Good luck with Hana, I believe you call her. Oh, and don't worry, we'll be meeting again real soon, Takamaru said as he entered the village. Finally, Naruto sighed as he began to walk away. But you promised me revenge. Kyuubi whined from Naruto's mind. Maybe next time, kitty. Naruto laughed. He called you a kitty too. Kyuubi retorted. Oh, this is going to be a long trip. Naruto moaned. Hana, over here, Shino said quietly from some bushes. Uncle Shino, Hana shouted, running full speed over towards the bushes. Hana, no, Shino said loudly. Why? She asked confused. I thought we were friends. But I guess that fate is a cruel mistress, Hana said dramatically. You don't know what that means, do you? Shino asked. Not a clue, Hana said grinning. So what did you want, Uncle Shino? I don't have a lot of time. My dad is very upset about recent events. He'll be looking for me in a bit, so I have to be fast. I hear that guy sensei is looking for you, Shino warned in an ominous tone. Hana, however, didn't take it as a warning. On the contrary, she seemed most pleased by this fact. Thanks, Uncle Shino, she said as she ran off to find Guy Sensei. Ah, children, so misguided. Shino sighed. Aburame, Shino, a voice asked from nearby. Yes, Shino said in his normal voice as he turned to face the man behind him. I'm here to arrest you in a suspected pedophilia case, the Anbu said. What? You have no grounds, Shino said, standing up from the bushes. Wrong. We have several points of evidence, the Anbu revealed. Like what? Shino asked in a panicked voice. 1. You're wearing a trench coat, the Anbu pointed out. That doesn't mean a thing. 2. You're always wearing sunglasses. A feeble piece of evidence at best. 3. You have candy in your pockets. I happen to enjoy candy, Shino defended. And lastly, you have been hanging out in areas where young children frequent, the Anbu said as though he had Shino pinned. I look for bugs in the park, I make sure my niece isn't being bullied at her school, and I buy candy at the candy store, Shino stated. We're still going to have to take you in for questioning, the Anbu said, grabbing Shino's wrist. This won't stand, I'll be out by 8, Shino said, upset. Near Guy's training ground. All right team, now, we will be training for a mission that will not allow for deadly force, Guy said loudly to his team. But Guy Sensei, you told us we would be going on a mission today, Lee said, disappointed. Yes Lee, but I told you that so you would be able to adapt to changing mission objectives, Guy said, revealing his brilliant scheme. Guy Sensei, I have to point out that there are very few missions that would require this restraint, Neji said, standing by some trees. Rescue, reconnaissance, employer guarding, and training missions. Guy listed off rapid fire, all of which can require deadly force, Guy Sensei, Ten said, sitting by a training dummy. What was that, Ten-chan? 100 laps around the village. If you want to run them, okay. We are going to spar. Now, any more comments, or do you really want to do laps instead of spar? Guy said in a loud voice. I said, you are a brilliant and youthful man, Guy Sensei, and I'd never think of questioning you, ever, Ten said as she sweat dropped. But Ten, you just said. Lee began, but Ten threw a kunai at him, cutting him off. Midori Sensei, Hana screamed from the bushes she had just charged through. She ran right up to Guy and then saluted, ready for duty. She said loudly. Wow, I'm so good at looking for people I don't even have to start before I find them. That just goes to show you, Lee, as long as you believe in youth, anything is possible. Guy-sensei, Lee said, tears running down his cheek at his sensei's brilliant words. Lee, Guy cried out in a similar state. Guy-sensei, Lee cried again. Lee, Guy-sensei, Midori-sensei, Hana said with tears in her eyes. Hana, Guy cried out as loud as he could in surprise and pride. Midori-sensei, Hana cried out as well. Wow, just when I thought today would be normal as it could be. This happens, Neji muttered where he stood. Oh, come on Neji, it's kinda cool that they add such flair to the day. Ten pointed out watching as Guy, Lee, and Hana hugged all the while crying. Ten-chan, you do not throw a paper bomb into a fire just because you think it needs flair. Neji said in a condescending manner. If you're trying to alert a rescue team. The weapons master replied. Yes, because you really want to kill yourself just to be rescued. Neji said, trying to make a point. He's watching Neji, just shut up. Ten whispered through clenched teeth. What? He'll make me run laps, just be quiet. Ten pleaded. What a waste of my time this has been. Neji said as he got up to leave. Okay team, Guy said, his cheeks dry as though they hadn't seen even a droplet of water. I'm going to help Hana understand the basics of chakra control. Lee, you run laps. Ten-chan, you go do target practice. Neji, go do whatever it is you do during the day. He said as each went to complete their allotted task. I'm telling you Kit, that man had a weird aura about him. Kyuubi told Naruto as they walked through the forest. And you only now bring it up. You just want me to hurt the guy. Naruto thought. No, I mean it, humans like yourself couldn't recognize it, but there was something familiar about him. Kyuubi said desperately. Okay, where did you sense it before? Naruto asked. I don't remember, I've overlooked every demon and ninja since before you were born and nothing seems to be exactly like it. Not evil, but not good either. Kyuubi said thoughtfully. What about more recently? Kit, my memory has gone a little bad since I was sealed, you humans seem to remember very unimportant details. We Kitsune just remember mates, hunting grounds, dens, and potential enemies. I have to sift through every single unimportant piece of information that you've ever seen, heard, thought, or felt. Kyuubi informed him. Well, keep me updated, You don't understand how bad this is. Kyuubi stated as he went back to thinking. Hana, Guy cried out in joy. You've caught on so fast. I know, I'll see if you can't do this jutsu. Guy said loudly. Guy-sensei, Lee shouted as he leapt into the field. I heard you yelling and ran. What did Hana do? Nothing. I was just telling her how she should rely on taijutsu because ninjutsu is dangerous. Now go back to laps and don't interrupt me again. Sorry Guy-sensei, to make up for this intrusion I will run the laps on my hands. Lee cried out his challenge to the world as he went to complete it. Okay, Hana, I know I promised to teach you a jutsu, but it's just too dangerous. So I will take you to a man who is one of the best ninjutsu users in the village. Hitaki, Kakashi, Guy shouted. So who? Hana asked. So who is grandfather? Quote. Guy didn't respond. He just turned away from her and shook at irregular intervals. After a few moments of this, okay, let's go visit your Sohu, he said in a weird tone. A few minutes later they arrived at Kakashi's house. When he opened the door, Guy sprung into the man's abode and proudly proclaimed, I have been entrusted with the task of handing over your. Guy paused as he laughed silently. Magamusum. He finished as he laughed out loud. Magamusum means granddaughter. Quote. Get out of my house, you criminal. Kakashi told Guy. Okay, just teach her a jutsu. She's great at chakra control. Guy laughed as he exited the house. Hello Sohu, Hana shouted as she started running around Kakashi's house. Hey, Hana, wanna meet a very good friend of mine? She'll teach you great jutsu just like you dads, Kakashi lied. Yeah, great. She lives a little bit away from here. At the Hyuga estate. Imoto-chan, have you seen Hana? Hinata asked Hanabi as she entered the room. Imoto is younger sister. Yeah, I think Guy-sensei was talking to her. Hinata considered this for a brief moment. She then ran out of the room as if trying to escape from a raging bull. Okay, so in exchange for looking after Hana, I'll let you see me without a majority of my mask, and I'll buy all the dango you eat for the next week. Kakashi said. It's a deal, Hitaki-san. Still don't know why you're so desperate to get this girl off your hands, you've seen how I eat dango. Matarish, Enko said, shutting the door on Kakashi's face. Okay, so your name is Hana, correct? Yes, Hana said, examining some of Enko's furniture. Fresh meat, this oughta be fun. An hour later, Matarashi-sama, Hinata asked as she knocked on Enko's door. Salvation, yelled a loud voice on the other side of the door. When the door was opened, Hinata was shocked by what she saw. You're Hinata, right? Good, take this monstrosity with you. Enko said as she pushed Hana out of the door. The brief glimpse that Hinata saw would suggest that Hana had found a lot of makeup and twigs, and had then decided that Enko needed a makeover. Guess what, Tomato? I learned a jutsu today. Hana shouted, excited. That's great, Hana. I'm just happy you're safe. Let's go check if Naruto-kun is back yet. Yay. Hey daddy. Hana yelled out, approaching her adoptive father with a speed unrivaled by other 7-year-olds. Hey Hana. How are you doing? Naruto responded, smiling broadly. When Hana first forced him to be her father, he didn't think he'd end up liking her, but as more and more time went by, the more he felt like he was her real father, and sometimes he thought, maybe she needed a mother. Bo chicka wow wow, kit. Kyuubi laughed loudly, the sound resonating in Naruto's ears. Shut up, kitten. Naruto responded, a look of annoyance crossing his face. Move, man, move. Kyuubi responded, sounding sad. Are you crying? Naruto asked, genuinely concerned. No, now go away, I don't wanna talk to you. Kyuubi sniffled before sobbing loudly into one of its 9 tails. Oh, I'm sorry, is there anything I can do to make it up to you? Naruto asked, feeling like a real jerk. Kyuubi sniffled a few times before replying, well, there's one thing, Kyuubi responded, sounding a little happier. I'm not letting you out for ball. Naruto responded. Why do you patronize me? Kyuubi sobbed. I just wanted a hug, is that too much to ask? Is it? Kyuubi cried out, literal rivers of tears exploding from its eyes. Oh, Naruto said aloud, sounding sad. Daddy, are you okay? Hana asked, also sounding sad at the thought of Naruto being sad. No, Hana, just a friend of Daddy's is sad right now. Naruto replied, looking down at the girl. Did you give them a hug? My friends are always happier after a hug. Hana responded. And it's a good thing your friends have you to keep them happy. Naruto replied, trying to be nice, though for some reason, he got the feeling that Hana's hugs didn't make people as happy as she thought they did. In fact, her hugs hurt a little bit. Ko, hello Naruto-kun. Hinata said, having been content to remain quiet up until this point. Oh hello Hinata, how have you been doing? You take good care of my daughter? Naruto asked, giving Hinata a grin that expressed pure joy and caused her to melt a little. Yes, I took very good care of her. And I would have taken great care of you too. Hinata said, thinking the last part aloud. I'm glad you'd be hospitable to me too. Naruto said, grinning, not catching what Hinata meant. Yo, you heard that? Hinata asked, her pupilless eyes widening in shock. Yeah, and I'm glad you'd let me stay at your house. Naruto remarked. I'd do more than that. Hinata said, again thinking aloud, having got into the habit after hanging around herself for a while. Like? Naruto asked, genuinely confused. Oh I'm gonna go now. Hinata said, nearly cursing before she scurried off to her home, blushing immensely. Hey daddy, Hana asked, looking up at her father while still waving at Hinata. Yeah Hana, Naruto asked, glancing down at the small girl. What does mean? Hana asked innocently. What? Naruto asked, nearly dropping the small girl in surprise that she had picked up such harsh language. I heard Tomato say it a couple of times, usually after she messed something up, but I also heard it a couple times at night. Hana remarked. Well, you see, when two adults, it's a bad word, don't use it. Naruto remarked, blushing, though he had no idea why Hinata would be saying it after dark, or why such a shy girl would be saying it at all. But it doesn't hurt anyone, does it? Hana asked, not seeing why something that didn't hurt anyone, like a word, should be such a bad thing. Yeah, but some adults get offended when people say things like that. So just don't say it, okay? When you're older you can use it. Naruto compromised, and if you use it all, take away Ichiraku ramen forever. Naruto said, trying to fulfill the tough parent routine he figured this situation called for. Hana's eyes widened to the size of dinner plates, for forever. She asked, her tone similar to that of one who has just been denied every pleasure the world has to offer, and is instead reduced to living with no sort of happiness. Forever. Naruto nodded, though the pain in Hana's tone hurt him almost as much as his threat hurt her. I'll never say again, I promise. Hana shouted before slapping her hands to her mouth, her eyes welling up in tears. Don't worry, Hana. That one doesn't count. Naruto replied, smiling a bit at her reaction as he set her down and crouched so that he was at eye level with the young girl. Now, you be a good girl and go home, and I'll be right with ya, okay? I just gotta go file a report, and assault charges, and go to a doctor, and write a strongly worded letter with lots of capitals and exclamation points. Naruto said, his smile slipping from his face. Okay, daddy. Hana shouted before head-butting him in the chest a little, don't be gone too long. She said before she skipped off happily in the direction of their home. Her world was complete, her father was home, she was becoming a ninja, and she hadn't gotten hit by a bus. Life was good. I never would have figured Hinata one to curse, but I guess that everyone deserves one little guilty pleasure. Naruto remarked before heading off to the Hokage Tower to file his report and assault charges. Naruto. A voice that Naruto couldn't recognize called out as though panicking. Yeah, who are? Oh hey Shin. Naruto started but was interrupted by Shino slapping him. Shut up. We don't have a lot of time. You've gotta tell them I'm not a pedo. Shino said, desperately pointing at the two Anbu behind him. You're a pedo? Naruto asked, not sure what that was. That's good enough for us. Come on, you sick weirdo, you're going downtown. The Anbu said, grabbing Shino's arm. Help. Shino sobbed as the Anbu drug him away. Naruto. Call Hinata. Tell her it happened. Kiba was right. We've got a Whiskey Delta. Red alert. Fight the power. Shino called out, sounding as if he was in shock and halfway to insane. Okay. Naruto shouted back. Looking at the Hokage Tower and then at the setting sun, Naruto decided that he could do all that tomorrow, and that tonight, he'd just hang out with his daughter. Smiling that he finally was free of the annoying man with a frying pan, he headed off towards his home. Little did he know that a man was watching his every move, noting several subtle things, as he jotted them down on his notepad. His research was finally coming to an end. Soon, he could strike. Naruto rested the small sleeping form of his daughter on the bed, smiling at her tiny form. He honestly didn't think that he'd ever get used to having a daughter. But, he started to think of what would happen if he was killed during a mission, or murdered. Who'd take care of her then? He thought aloud as he lay down on the couch, wanting to be alone for a while. We need to talk. Kyuubi interrupted, sounding halfway between grief-filled and pissed. Go away, furball. I don't want to talk. Naruto started, however he was swiftly interrupted by the room starting to swirl and grow dark, and slowly replace itself with a small meadow full of flowers of various shades and hues. I won't be kept waiting this time, Kit. Kyuubi snarled, still enshrouded in darkness despite the sunny state of the meadow. Fine. What do you want, Neko-san? Naruto asked, smiling at the insult. Stop your insolence, you fool. We have important matters to discuss. Kyuubi boomed, the darkness starting to swirl and dissipate, the white peaceful clouds in the meadow's sky growing dark and dangerous as thunder clapped and wind blew, tearing several plants from the ground. Naruto was forced to close his eyes as a cloud of dirt swirled into the air. After a few minutes of this, Naruto was blown to the ground as he cast a glance upwards. No longer was there a huge typhoon of darkness, instead a figure around his size, which looked vaguely familiar, stood there still and shrouded in darkness. We have little enough time as it is, the figure said as the meadow started returning to its pristine state. Closing his eyes as he stood up, Naruto opened his eyes to view the Kyuubi's smaller form. Once he realized what had happened, his mouth fell in shock. Before him was the form of a beautiful woman, stark. It's been a long time since I have used this form. The woman remarked, its voice still resonating throughout Naruto's mindscape as it looked itself over. Despite its red eyes, it looked like a normal woman. Kyuubi? Naruto asked, surprised at the revelation that Kyuubi was a woman. Surprised, Kit. I can assume human form at will. I am a creature of pure chakra now, I can assume many forms. Kyuubi remarked, and as though to prove its point, it transformed into several of Naruto's friends before settling for the womanly form again, though this time fully clothed in a traditional kimono. Naruto asked, so you're a shapeshifter now? I have been for many years, Kit. 15 right around now, the Kyuubi said, smiling, obviously proud of this talent. So, you're a cross-dresser? Naruto asked innocently. Duh. What? No, I'm not a cross-dresser. Since I am a being of pure chakra, I have no need for reproductive organs, so I have never been a man or a woman. Kyuubi said, pissed off once more. So, you're a she-male? The blonde knucklehead remarked thoughtfully. Yes. Wait. No. Stop laughing. Kyuubi said, sounding childish and embarrassed at what it had said, though Naruto didn't catch this, he was too busy laughing. You're a girl and a guy. He laughed, literally rolling on the ground. I'm neither. Shut up. Kyuubi said, its womanly form starting to revert to a teenager state. Ha 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 ha. Naruto laughed loudly. The Kyuubi's form blushed. This was definitely not going the way she had hoped. Stop. It shouted as it lunged at Naruto, fully intending to beat the living hell out of the young ninja, before she seemingly hit a solid wall and flew back, burn marks all over its body and clothes, though both of these things healed quickly. Obviously, though the cage was no longer visible, it was still in existence. After all, she could only meld Naruto's mindscape so much. Naruto was about done laughing at this point, and he sat up, still chuckling a little. So, hey, Mr. Mrs. Kyuubi, what did you want me for? Mother, she said, slowly getting up, some tears in her eyes, I think I'm a bit closer to figuring out where I had felt the evil presence, on that insolent son of a bitch. Kyuubi said, shouting the last part in a wailing shriek, before seemingly remembering that Naruto was there, and calmed down. I felt a similar presence earlier today, right after the insane man was dragged away. So, what do you want me to do? Naruto asked, starting to wonder if perhaps Kyuubi was telling the truth about Takemaru being evil. Though, he still honestly thought that she just wanted him killed, for the kitten comment. Just be careful, that's all. Kyuubi responded, a tone of caring in her tone. And you had to bring me here to tell me this? Naruto asked, sensing that Kyuubi had an ulterior motive. Well, Kyuubi said, sounding thoughtful for a second before shaking her head, no, that was it. She said, darkness starting to envelope her form, as once again the meadow swirled around and changed shape back to the dark sewer that it usually was. Now, get some sleep. The voice said, halfway between the womanly tone and the dark tone of the Kyuubi that Naruto was used to. Dad. Yeah, this is very important. Stop crying, he's dead already. Just get the, yes, well, I'm in jail. You can help me. Shino shouted into the phone, never before having a need to get upset, though, there's a first time for everything. I don't care. I don't have that kind of money. Shibi replied back into the phone, wiping away some tears. What could you possibly have spent it on? The clan has plenty of money, that aside, you have plenty of money. Shino remarked, returning to his calm state, knowing that the clan's money was only to be used in absolute emergencies, such as the rebuilding of Konoha, or the rebuilding of the Aburame abode. Promise you won't get mad. Shibi replied after a short silence, sounding like a child who was just caught doing something naughty. That depends, father. Shino responded honestly, not sure how he'd react to anything. I spent it on a statue. Shibi said sheepishly. A statue? Of what? Shino asked, shocked. His father was always known as a man who didn't spend money on luxury. Of me. Shibi replied. You? Why? Shino asked, beyond pissed at this point. Well, I'm getting old, son. I want to be remembered when I'm gone. Shibi admitted, signs of actual normal humanity showing through. Well, I'll always remember you as the Jack Who let me stay in jail next to some creep Who keeps eyeing my shoes. When did you even buy it? Shino shouted into the phone, kicking the weird man next to him, hard enough to move the man a few feet away. 20 minutes after you were arrested. Now I know. Hello. Hello. Shino, are you there? Shibi asked before he realized that his son had hung up on him. Glancing at the solid gold statue of himself heroically posed, he sighed, You still love me, don't you, statue? No, you're a pretty huge jerk, man. I can't even look at you. Shibi mimed as he turned the statue away from himself. Well, fine. Forget you. At least my bugs still love me. Shibi remarked, when suddenly bugs started pouring out of his pores. What? Oh, come on. That's not even funny. Shibi shouted as the bugs formed a large frowny face in front of him before resting on the ceiling. Shikamaru? Tamari asked, glancing around her friend's scantily decorated apartment. It was small, with only 2 rooms worth mentioning, the bedroom and the living room. The apartment's lighting was also very bare, featuring 2 lights per room, all of which could turn on separately. Yeah, Tamari? Shikamaru asked, glancing down at the shogi board. He already saw 27 moves he could make to win in anywhere from 10 to 20 moves, but he enjoyed dancing circles around his opponents. He moved one of his pieces into a rather novice position as bait. As a smirk appeared on his face, the position of the piece was wide open for attack, but it was also in a good attacking spot. Strategy depended on what your opponent thought you were thinking, as much as what you were actually thinking. Have you ever considered moving? She asked, her eyebrow perking up at the move. It was too stupid to be a genuine move, and so instead of taking the piece, she moved a piece totally unrelated to the hot spot on the board. No, not really. Why? Shikamaru asked, his smirk falling, as he realized she wouldn't fall for such a simple maneuver. Well, I was just thinking that this place looks a bit lonely. Tamari replied, trying to keep up her courage to go through with her plan. I like lonely. I don't have to deal with troublesome people. I can just relax. Shikamaru returned as his eyes widened a small amount at the move she had just made. Piss, he mumbled. Well, I was thinking. I'm in Konoha a lot. And I suggested to Gara that maybe I could live in the villages, live in Liaison, since I'm here so much. So, that's a move, man. Tamari said, snapping her attention back to the game as she moved a piece to counter it. So, I've been thinking, maybe we could move in together. Tamari asked, hoping that he said yes. How much rent? Shikamaru asked, seemingly uncaring. Well, since I'm an important person, probably very low. It all depends. Tamari remarked, blushing at the fact that Shikamaru was considering it. Alright, I'll do it. Shikamaru said, no trace of emotion in his voice as he noticed a way Tamari could win, as he quickly moved a piece to defend against it. Really? Tamari exclaimed, her tone betraying her excitement. Yeah, it's almost time to pay rent and I'm flat broke. Shikamaru remarked. Oh, okay. Tamari replied crestfallen that Shikamaru was just using her like this. Besides, you're not the most troublesome woman to be around. Shikamaru admitted, and for most people, this would be an insult, but considering that this was Shikamaru, it was similar to him proclaiming that he was going to slam his head into a wall until a full-scale picture of her was ingrained into it. Temari's eyes welled up with tears of joy. Sure, it wasn't as intimate as she would like, but it was an amazing first step that she had been waiting for, ever since a few weeks ago when she realized that she cared for Shikamaru as a little more than a friend. Thank you, she replied, wiping her eye. Are you okay? Shikamaru asked, genuinely concerned for her, when he saw her tears, afraid he had done something wrong. Tamari burst out laughing, and it wasn't the kind that romance movies portrayed women using, this was full-blown laughter. I'm better than okay. I just won. Tamari shouted as she moved her final piece into place, sealing Shikamaru's fate. A look of disbelief crossed his face as he examined the board, realizing slowly that he had indeed lost. Take that, bitch. I kicked your. Tamari shouted at the top of her lungs, laughing maniacally as though she were a mad woman. Shikamaru slowly slid from the chair he had been sitting on. She had beat him with a beginner's move. He, who prided himself at being a genius at shogi, had lost to a beginner's move. He slowly fell to his knees, as he lost all strength due to shock. Slowly he fell into the fetal position on the floor as the blonde woman above him shouted obscenities at the sky. He couldn't believe that he agreed to live with that. Shino stared at the wall of his small cell, his glasses having been removed from his possession, so he had tied a small cloth to his face to conceal his eyes. He never had been comfortable with wearing glasses. I don't belong here, the young ninja said as he pondered his next move. None of us belong here, kid, but as far as they care, we deserve to be here for just breathing the wrong way. I'm Shikamaru, what's your name? The man in the adjacent cell remarked. I'm Shino. I have a friend named Shikamaru. Shikamaru, Nara. You know him? Shino asked. No, I don't know anyone named Shikamaru. The man replied. Not even yourself? The bug user asked, smiling at his joke. I'm not Shikamaru. My name's Gokumaru. The man corrected the innocent jailbird. Oh, I thought you said Shikamaru. Sorry about that, Gokumaru. Shino apologized. Hey kid, me and you are talking, don't ignore me. Gokumaru said, sounding ridiculously angry. But you said your name's Gokumaru. Shino protested sadly. Who's Gokumaru? What kind of stupid name is that? My name's Steve. Steve, Gokumaru, Shikamaru said. Okay. Steve's not even a name. You're messing with me, aren't you? Shino said, getting annoyed at the other man's antics. Especially, now that he had started to spout gibberish. Of course Steve's not a name. What kind of name is Steve? The man said, starting to sound crazy. Excuse me, guard. Shino asked softly. Yeah, what is it, you piece of criminal filth? I mean, less than law-abiding, slightly dirty being. The guard asked, silently cursing the new politically correct term for criminal filth. How long has the man in the next cell been here? The reserved young man asked curiously, wondering how long it took for people to go insane in Konoha prisons. The guard stalled as he looked at the prisoner. Actually, wait a second, you're not a prisoner. So, I wanna be a prisoner today. The man yelled at the guard. Get the hell outta here, you crazy bastard. I mean, less than sane man with an unknown father. The guard said, cursing political correctness in general. He approved of equality, but when people were crazy, changing the name didn't help much, in his opinion. Never. You'll never take me alive. The man said, running from the cell after flinging the door open. He then ran by Shino's cell. Come, friend. I'll save you. Cheese grater of doom. The man shouted as he started bashing Shino's cell with a cheese grater produced from his shirt pocket. Get him. The guard yelled as he tackled Steve, Gokumaru, Shikamaru to the ground. Now, you're gonna go back to an asylum. But I don't want my cheese grater to be lonely. Cell man, take cheese. Keep her safe for me. I love you, honey. The man shouted as he threw the cheese grater at Shino's cell, and due to its small size, it flew in effortlessly, and struck Shino, right in the family jewels. Laying on the ground several minutes later, Shino was crying his eyes out. The world just seemed to hate him this month. I just got beaten by a crazy man and a cheese grater, Shino thought, still crying. Hey, kid, you got a visitor. The guard said, panting from the exertion of transporting the crazy man out of the prison. Who? Shino asked, tears streaming down his face. Uncle Shino. A small voice said curiously, why are you in a playpen? Hana. Shino said, getting up, hope filling his body as he ran towards the bar. Yeah, Uncle Shino. Hana asked, walking up to the bars. Though the guard didn't seem to think it was safe, he didn't say anything. Hana, you've got to tell them I'm not a pedophile. Tell them I didn't touch you. Shino said, desperate. But Uncle Shino, you did touch me. Hana said innocently, not seeing why her uncle was in a big playpen for touching her on the shoulder, or giving her a pat on the back. Shino's mouth almost literally hit the floor. Shock filled his body as he processed what had just happened. The girl he loved like a niece had just said he'd touched her. I never touched you. Shino shouted, his voice cracking from strain. That's enough, little girl, you need to go now. You can see this creature get what he deserves after his trial. He can never hurt you again. Bye, Uncle Shino. Have fun. Hana waved while smiling as she was escorted by the guard, who was full of sorrow. How could people do this to a child? I didn't do anything. I swear. It's a misunderstanding. Shino called out loudly. However, the guard for the most part ignored him. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX xxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxx The next day Shino was standing in a courtroom dressed in his normal attire, plus a tie, for it always helped to look formal. Your Honor, I plead not guilty. The judge, a short man who was sitting on a very big chair with several books in the seat so that he could see the defendant, nodded lightly. All right, let the trial for Aburame Shino begin. The judge said, sounding as if he had already made up his mind. Your Honor, this creature has had several pieces of evidence presented against him, and he is indeed wearing most of them. If it would please the court, I'd like to point out that he is wearing a trench coat. A collective gasp went through the crowd. Sunglasses. Another large gasp was heard. Weird hair. This time the crowd was silent, and most importantly, he has pictures of children in his wallet. The attorney said loudly, as another gasp went through the crowd. What? No, I don't. Shino protested loudly. He didn't even have a wallet. He carried no money on him unless absolutely necessary, so wallets were just wasted space. Oh really, Mr. Pedo the dinosaur? Then just what is this? The lawyer said, producing a wallet from a bag labeled evidence. Opening it up, several pictures fell out of children running around and playing. Shino was quiet for a second. That's not my wallet, he said calmly. Oh really? Then why is your name on it? The attorney said, spinning the wallet around to reveal, Shino the Pedo's, written really big on the side. What idiot puts his name on a wallet? And more importantly, if I were a pedo, which I'm not, but if I were, why in the hell would I put it on my wallet full of children's pictures? Shino asked, annoyed to the point where his quiet demeanor was far out the window. So it is your wallet? The lawyer remarked, flashing a smile indicating that he thought he had Shino cornered. I was speaking hypothetically. It's not my wallet, Shino said, starting to get angry. So you're denying it's your wallet? The man asked, flashing another smile. Yes, Shino said, happy to finally be getting somewhere with these people. So you admit that you're denying it's your wallet? The lawyer asked. Yes, I am, Shino said, his annoyance starting to return. Hear that? He admits that he's denying it. So that means it is his wallet, but he's not going to say it is. The man continued, even throwing the present Nara Shikamaru for a loop with the logic. Ga, goo, goo, Shino said, his face falling. So it's his wallet, and he admitted that it's his, but that doesn't prove much, just that it's his wallet. The judge said, a drawl coming out of his voice. Shino wasn't sure if he was lucky or unlucky to get such an idiot judge. The word manipulation the lawyer had just pulled probably would have convinced many people of his guilt. Wait, I want Uzumaki Hana to come to the stand, just talk to her about it. I swear she'll clear all this up. Shino said calmly. Aburame-san, I would appreciate it if you didn't yell in my courtroom. The judge said, reaching for something under his desk. But, I'm not yelling. Shino said, starting to think this judge was an idiot. Alright, I didn't want to have to threaten you with this, but, the judge said, producing a small aerosol can from beneath the desk, if you don't calm down, I'll kill all your insects. Okay, calm down, no need to be hasty. Shino said, nearly losing control of his bladder at the sight of the deadly substance. Okay then, someone find Uzumaki Hana, and we'll question her. The judge said to a nearby Anbu. However, before the Anbu could move anywhere, a small girl approached the front of the courtroom with gusto. Who are you? I'm Uzumaki Hana, I'm 7 years old, and I'm gonna be a ninja. My daddy is friends with Uncle Shino, and he knows tomato, and numbskull. We like ramen and Uncle Shino buys me stuff sometimes. And we play horsey a lot. Hana proclaimed loudly and excited that she got to play another game with her uncle and all these people. Shino's banged his head into the desk when Hana said, horsey, because he knew exactly what all these people were thinking. Anyway, please sit up here, miss, the attorney said, leading the small girl to a seat, and then picked up a doll from his desk. Can you show me where he's touched you? Yes. Hana said. Here. Hana pointed to the head several times. What are you doing? The lawyer interrupted, confused. I'm showing you where he touched me. He touched me here once and here once and here once. Hana said as she started once again poking the doll in the head. Okay. Look, Miss Uzumaki, I only want you to tell me, if he ever touched you here. The man said as he pointed to the crook between the doll's legs. No, why would Uncle Shino touch me there? Hana asked, cocking her head to one side, confused. Has he ever made you touch him there? The man asked, pointing to the same spot. But he gave me candy once, it was tasty, then we went to his house and I danced with his dad, and his dad was fun. Hana said, starting to get bored with the conversation. Well, tell us about the game, horsey. The lawyer asked. Well, he puts me on his shoulders, and then we run around the village. He doesn't go as fast as Midori-sensei, but I like Uncle Shino's rides better. Hana said happily, getting interested in the game again. Sunglasses. The lawyer shouted, seeing his case falling apart. The crowd murmured at the lame attempt. You are very convincing, but I've made my decision. The judge said as he mulled the verdict over in his head. In the crowd, Hinata and Naruto were scared stiff for their friend. Oh, Naruto-kun, what if they send Shino-kun to jail? It'll crush Hana. Hinata said, seeming sad. Naruto felt uncomfortable seeing Hinata so sad, so he tried to think of something to say to make Hinata see that everything would be okay, but he couldn't think of anything, until he remembered something Jiraiya had said one time during their training that made women feel safe. Hinata was surprised when she felt an arm on her shoulder. Realizing it was Naruto's, she blushed, but managed to stay conscious. Soon she found herself leaning into him, as they basically cuddled in the middle of the courtroom. Naruto-kun, she whispered, her heart racing. It'll be okay, Hinata, I promise. Naruto said, giving Hinata a one-armed hug, glad that Jiraiya had taught him something about women that was applicable in this situation. But he couldn't help but think that maybe this had to do with something perverted like most of the sage's lessons. However, right now, the only important thing was that it made Hinata feel better. Not guilty. The judge called across the courtroom. No. Come on. Send him to jail. The lawyer cried out. Why are you so adamant on wanting me to go to jail? I'm not a pedophile. Shino said, shocked that the man thought he was a pedophile still. Of course you're not a pedophile. None of that was convincing evidence for anyone with half a brain. The lawyer said as if it were obvious. Then why did you want me in jail? Shino asked, shocked. I wanted your pants. The lawyer said, crying. My pants aren't as fancy as the pair you're wearing, and pants are all I have in life. The man literally soaked the floor with his tears. You had me spend the night in jail for pants? Shino asked in calm disbelief. Yes, the lawyer cried, now on the floor in the fetal position. Hana, leave, Uncle Shino has something to take care of, I'll play with you later. Shino said as bugs started to pour from his body. Okay, have fun with your friend. By waterfalls. Hana said as she walked back to her daddy. Oh hey Hana, Naruto said when he noticed her. Hinata seemed to tense up at the mention of Naruto's daughter. Hey daddy, uncle's gonna play with his friend, then he'll come hang out with me. Hana said, looking at Hinata's blush. Tomato didn't begin to describe the shade of red she was. Hinata meanwhile was having an internal debate, torn between doing what her heart desired, and her crippling self-doubt. She decided to do it. Her blush, glowing like a sun, rose as she leaned upwards and attempted to kiss Naruto. Come on Hana, let's go. Naruto said, getting up, causing her to kiss his shoulder. Oh, sorry Hinata, didn't see you getting up too, you okay? Hinata's confidence faded as she merely nodded. Yes, I'm fine Naruto-kun. She didn't let her disappointment show. Son of a mother bitch. Hinata shouted in her head, though her outward appearance was of the shy girl everyone knew. Hey Hinata, Naruto asked. Why yes Naruto-kun. Hinata asked, her stutter returning, now that she was out of the comforting embrace of her love. Wanna go get some lunch with me and Hana? Naruto asked, wanting to celebrate Shino's freedom. Why yes Naruto-kun, I'd like that a lot. Hinata said, more than happy to go on a family outing with them. Shino, you wanna come to lunch? Naruto asked, remembering him suddenly. No, I'm gonna bug this guy. For a second, Shino said, using bug as a euphemism for beating the living hell out of the poor soul. Okay, Naruto said as he led his adopted daughter and his good friend out of the courtroom for a treat of Ichiraku ramen.